Not 7, 2025. So I'm James Clive, and the chair assistant artist. So today we invite like Ms. Sulaiman, practicing artist, Mr. Jakob Van Klang, and Danielle Lin from Rabit. So these two panels will be speaking about I think similar but different things. So both is about community. The both is talking about different types of community. Yeah. So this session will be exploring contemporary dialogues in arts and contemporary practices. So we will look at Suzy Sulaiman on decolonizing curatorial approaches through the lens of Meri and emphasizing the importance of authentic representation of lived experiences. So following that, Jakob Van Klang and Danielle Lin will introduce Art Rabit, which is an initiative and artistic platform online, right, which aims to foster editorial and community-driven perspective in art practices. So, so we'll look at sort of how these different types and scopes in curatorial realm are approached and how sort of artists are sort of working within these realms and also looking into how to build community and I think create and generate art and culture through communities in a way that I think it's trying to go away from the normal model or the dominant model of how we approach culture and market. So, invite Suzy now to give us a little bit of introduction and also enlighten us on sort of projects with the mom and children. Okay,
All right, thank you so much, James, for that one. And I also want to read some books here, which I also would like to pass around. These are um, two books from Toko and Indigenous, which is among very collective. So if you guys want to pass it around, and then this is the whole catalog also from very exhibition in University of Idaho years ago. So while you have a look at that, and also here, listen. So since we're not, it's not a big group. I hope that we can use this chance to be together to also have a dialogue. Okay, it's not one word. I don't think, and the things that I'm about to show you is very raw. Okay, it's still being conceived, it's still being reflected, it's still like if it's a soup, it's still simmering. The way the flavors are not really there yet, and this is basically what practice that is still ongoing. So the title is Decolonizing Curatorial Practices, and there's also an element part looking at the experiences of non children. So first of all, let me I think like a couple of days ago when this thing was on Instagram, there was some little bit of a question about from people about the title. And I think it's important for me to first of all announce instead say my position. So because I cannot be somebody that I'm not. So I am basically a Muslim Malay woman. I'm a single mother. I am of middle class. My lineage is, I would say, I come from a lineage of um, um, educators, teachers, and civil servants. So my grandparents was in the police. My other grandparent was working with the Sultan in Johor. My parents are both teachers, educators, and so I as well. Okay, so this is I'm so when I'm talking about indigenous groups like Meri, I'm sitting from this position. I'm also an artist and a producer, and I'm sitting from this position. So I do not want to say I do not own a lot of things. So this is my position, and I hope by you guys understanding where I am in terms of the class structure, uh, it's yeah, and I'm trying to be as authentic as I can. Okay, so looking at decolonializing curatorial practices, and again, I was just speaking to Jacob just now, and I'm just saying that a lot of the stuff. I mean, he was saying this is my research, and I'm saying, well, I kind of go backward. Like I would jump at an opportunity because it's interesting and it's fun, and then when you encounter issues, then you start to have reflection process. But it's also very important to be working with groups of people who share that similar mindset. That when they encounter issues or problems or conflicts, you negotiate. So this is one thing that I think, which is why I'm having problems saying it's a research, but it's definitely an area to this. Okay, so first of all, I know a lot of you guys are students, so I'm gonna and for myself juga lah, I'm not a trained curator. I'm a curator by accident. But I think in Malaysia we have a lot of accidental curators because there's a lot of opportunity for that. I mean I'm gonna try to share this video with this session, okay? So okay, before we can talk about decolonizing curatorial practices, first let's understand. Okay, so I'm here thinking that you know what curation is, or kind of, okay, assume you know what curation is. So let me just paint the picture first, lah. And this is a little bit of like historical knowledge, sorry, history. And of course, when I talk about history in art, it's Eurocentric history, okay, it's Eurocentric history. Um, so we know that the beginnings of museums, the stuff that you see today when you go to museums, right? That actually started sometime during the was it the 15th century. It's during the maritime period, right? And this was at the peak of colonization. Okay, so you would not have curators if you did not have collections. Okay, and you would not have collections if you did not have the wealth to acquire such collections. Okay, so under that premise, you will know that curation, the seeds of it, began under this context, yeah, of acquiring of wealth, of colonization. That was the basis, okay? Because when they started to, and when I mean they, I mean the elitists, lah, right? The elitists, the princes, these people associated with the aristocrats, the ones that could actually afford traveling during this time, they would acquire exotic objects from different lands, and they would take this and rearrange them in these things we call curiosity cabinets, wonder cabinets. So curiosity cabinets, which actually belong as personal collections. I'm sure you guys have collections. Your collection of cars, toy cars, or your toy collection. So this is where the collection becomes a narrative which is controlled by the owner. So one person, right? And this wonder cabinets or curiosity cabinets become a form of world building to this collection. Okay, so if you notice, I'm just explaining curatorial, the beginnings of curation in a very superficial explanation, but just highlighting the points where I related with colonization. Okay, so under that pretext, curating becomes something colonial because it perpetuates the idea of power. And again, you cannot have a collection if you're poor. Okay, so definitely, and you cannot, at the time, you cannot be wealthy because this is before the Industrial Revolution, before the businessmen came in. So you could not be rich if you were not from royalty. Okay, so back then, the ones who were wealthy were definitely also powerful. Okay, so this is why the curatorial practice that we have today, for the most part, has its roots in this. Okay, so this is what I hope or dream or attempt to dismantle. I dream of dismantle, but little bit, right? It's a big thing. This is like hundreds and hundreds of years. This is systemic. Okay, so what I'm about to share with you is not like the absolute and resolute answer, because this thing is something that we're working with an ancient system, but it needs to be at least you have to see it first. You have to first have the eyes to recognize that this is a problem. Okay. Right. So yeah, I hope I made myself clear enough. Okay, so these are just okay, so I'm showing you some of the key points that associate curatorial practice with colonialism and colonialism. Okay, first of all, like for example, colonial acquisition of artifacts. Okay, so if you go like to the British Museum, okay, the British Museum, most of it is stuff that was taken during the time the country was being colonized. Okay, so there's a lot of issues of who actually owns it, under whether these objects actually belong in this in the museum of the country, which was once its colony. Okay, so that's the question, of course, about these artifacts. And like I said, when we're looking at the curiosity cabinets, it's about one man's narrative, right? It's one man's narrative, not one woman, not one chick. It's a man's narrative. It's a man's world. Okay? So that narrative is controlled by a curator. How we want to say it, how we want to spin the story, what kind of message or propaganda, that is controlled by a singular person. Okay? And this person probably has certain unequal power, stuff like that. Okay? Display practices. And so a lot of objects are removed from its context. So this is important because, like for example, if you were to take a Meri carving or a mask and you were to put it into a different context, for example, put it in a museum, a white box museum, okay, a lot of its traditions and spiritual beliefs that goes into that cultural artifact is actually like you erase it. You have to erase it because you're now going to. It's like you got this object and you want to like remove it from its culture so that you can repurpose it and appropriate it to your own narrative. You get so it's kind of like washing it off. So you have to wash it off because if you don't wash it off, then you cannot put it in the museum. Okay, so that's why this thing is very problematic because a lot of these artifacts are now looked at museums just for like aesthetics. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's made from gold. Oh, it's 500 years old. It's based on this very superficial aesthetics, right? Whereas in the community, it has different significance. Okay, so this kind of value markers are erased just because they wanted to put in a coming state. Yeah. And of course, the other thing is gatekeeping. Yeah. So when things are locked up in a museum, you can only go and see these things like from Mondays to Fridays, for example. And it's not accessible but for the community themselves. The communities that are where these artifacts come from, they themselves cannot access their so their objects or their cultural. Yeah. So these are just some of the reasons why, for me, the curatorial practice is very much steeped in like colonial, yeah, colonial, colonial models. Okay, for me, it's models. Okay. I mean, this is something that has already happened. This is like I said, 2, 3 years old problem. Okay, but I think for now it's important for us to first get like the filter to see this. So then we can work at it many ways. Yeah. So now we can see how people. Okay, so the reason why I put these are different, like different steps that we can approach at different themes, different kind of curatorial. If you were a curator, you were interested in working in this area. These are different angles you want to attack this. Okay, because it's like everybody has a different position, right? So we have this repatriation of artifacts. Like there's so some of the artifacts, like there was the Benin bronze. They were actually being returned back to the country, Nigeria. So Britain took some very valuable bronze, I'm not sure, was it sculptures or artifacts from Nigeria, and they're working back to return them. Okay, because they were taken when they were colonized. Right? So this sorry, reputation. Okay, this happens on the domain of international diplomacy. Okay, so if you see the mechanism, the efforts are here, and who can actually work on it. Okay, so something like this requires diplomacy. This requires country to country efforts. Okay, collaborative curation. This can be done by curators and artists. Changing exhibition practices, of course, right? Curators, cultural institutions, institutional reforms. Yeah, so I've actually put these different ways to hack this concept of decolonization um, in different ways. But just because I actually want to highlight this one up, because I want to show you that, okay, so I can't do referee, how to pronounce it, then don't do it. So, so that's definitely outside of the domain that I'm familiar with. So to narrow things down, for this gigantic problem that we have, or maybe this my imagined problem could be is to look at collaborative curation, is to way to rethink this idea of one man's story or one person narrative into becoming whole narratives or multiple narratives. Yeah, so this is the idea of where I'm gonna start into. Okay, looking at co-collaboration. So co-collaboration means curators actually partner with the community. So again, like I said, this is something that is ongoing. There's still no one set example, but I'm going to be sharing with you some work that I've done, which falls under this idea of co-collaboration, but it's at different temperatures. Yeah, it's at different temperatures. Some would be like very like cool, some would be like mid, some would be like super intense at different temperatures of this. Because this concept of partnering with community is also something a bit like unstable. Okay, because partner is it's about sharing power. Yeah, so naturally one person has access to resource, another person has access to the culture, right? So this power imbalance, this power thing is like always in flux. Yeah, so that's one. Yeah, so that's so that idea of partnership. It's not like a you can't really say 50-50. Sometimes it's 57, sometimes 60-40, and it happens throughout the project. This big shift, yeah. So partnering with them, co-creating exhibitions, co-creating narratives and interpretations. And one of the things of co-collaboration is being inclusive and dialogic. Yeah, having lots of dialogue. Okay, that's something I haven't said. Okay. So for me to kind of Only is just like another note. Um, to do it. So sometimes when I want to understand something, I always compare it with something else. Yeah, because like I said, this thing is also something in the works, so it's still developing. So for me to understand, because I also work as a traditional curator, and I know as curators there is a narrative. Okay, there's a theme. Usually it's given by the gallery, all right? Or oh, it's meant like it's going to be Merdeka. I mean something that's talking about nationalism, or for example, oh, it's Women's Day. I mean some women artists. Yeah, so there's a certain narrative that is given by the institution or the gallery to the curator, and the curator's job is to kind of flesh out that narrative to whatever. Okay, so that's very top down. All right, and now looking at co-authorship, sharing authorship, and this is difficult because like working with artists, yeah, it's really like it really pecks at your pride and ego when you have to share authorship, and it takes very special people. And I can say that only very special people can do that. Certain people can do that. Not everyone, not every artist can. Yeah. So getting the right artists with that kind of mindset where they can actually let go of their power requires, yeah. Yeah, I can see I work with people who can, and I work with people who can. So I understand that this is not something that easy, not this idea of co-authorship. Okay. So I'm looking at, so now as I'm saying, okay, now we're looking at co-collaboration. There's different aspects of co-collaboration. I've just passed the book route, which is done. This is also another project done by Miss and Topo Topo. So Topo Topo is a weaving community in Mount Meri. I think it's last stuff. I'm not done by yet. So they have a collective and they work with Greenness, and Greenness does documentation. So they are, so the background of, if I'm not mistaken, when we their background is journalism and writing. So that's why the output will be from books and exhibition. So here, because my background is art and I know artists and art is something familiar. So in co-collaboration, I'm using the engaged art. So the engaged art approach means making art projects together. Okay, so this is where we share our curatorial power. So yeah, through art, through making something that was never there and making it together. That's where we actually share that kind of power. Yeah. Okay, so the first part. Okay, so this was okay. So I'm going to show you different temperatures of folk collaboration. This was a project by his name is Ichiro Tamura in 2013, 2012. So he's a Japanese, obviously Japanese artist, and I had the honor of kind of curating. I was curating the Malaysian leg of his Japanese exhibition, Japanese Japan Foundation exhibition. And Yuichiro, so Yuichiro's work was one of the few works that were commissioned by the Malaysian curatorial group. Okay? He wanted to work with Native Indigenous. So if you notice, it's still kind of top driven because it comes from the artist. So the artist wants to work with the Mount Mary wood covers to produce a carving. Okay, so so the story is, so this is installation in his work. So when I was working with Yuichiro, because he's traveling between Tokyo and Malaysia, and he only has like very limited time to be here. Like he only has like 1 week stretch. Came 2 weeks, so he could only spend 1 week and another week. Yeah, and he did most of the work, editing and stuff like that back to Tokyo. So he told me, okay, so and he speaks very minimal English, very minimal. And but he understands things quite easily and deeply. We brought him to Mount Mary. At that time, I am connected with Mr. Rashid Issa from the Meri in Papa Village, and he told us a bit about the background, and Yuichiro understood very much that dreams are big, dreams are very significant in Mahmeri culture, in indigenous communities, and especially in Mahmeri culture, dreams. Dreams, from my understanding, is as legit as an instruction from your boss. It's as tangible as an instruction, like from the boss. If your boss tells you tomorrow you gotta go to, I need you to go to Georgetown, I need you to go to Pinnacle. That's if the dream told you that, that's what you literally have to do. That's how tangible. So it was important. So Yuichiro told me that he sees the altar as an interdimensional Bluetooth, interdimensional, because it connects our dimension and the dimension of the ancestors. So in Mahmeri, their ancestors are known as Moyals. So they would have an altar. So if a person would have any kind of problems or issues, they would give an offering, talk to the Moya, explain what they want, and 1 or 2 days later, they will have a dream. So the dream will be embedded in some kind of symbolism, and they will be able to understand what you're supposed to do. So Yuichiro told me that was like that's amazing because like he told me, oh, this is like an interdimensional like communication tower. Yeah. So it cuts through different dimensions. So he says that, okay, I know what I want to do. So because prior to that he wasn't sure. I need to stay here and have a dream. And what I see in my dream, I'm going to carve it in. Okay. So I was, as a curator, I was nervous. Okay. Because curators are output driven. Okay. Because I have to answer to my Japan Foundation bosses. Okay. So, because I brought him to Kerry, what are you guys doing? So I have to answer things. And then Yuichiro told me, he said, okay, Susie, I need to stay here I need to sleep here. I need to stay in the village. I need to get my dream here. And then I told Yuichiro, I think that's not possible because your insurance doesn't cover you staying here. Okay, so Japan Foundation is very particular about where the artist is sleeping because they're all insured, right? So I told him to please, can you talk to our manager, Miss Kyoko, and explain to her why you need to sleep. So he explained to her in Japanese because I couldn't explain to you. You got to speak directly. So after that, he told me, okay, Susie, I got 2 nights. I got 2 nights. They let me sleep 2 nights in the village. Okay. So the first night, so we worked with Mr. Rashid at the time, Mr. Rashid said that, and there was one because they had at that time, this was about 2013, there was no kind of residencies, hotels that were available. So we asked around, and there was a weaver that allowed us to use her. She kept all her weaving material in this one little hut. I don't have a picture of it. And she let Yuichiro stay there for the night with some payment. Okay? So the first night, Yuichiro slept in this hut, and then the next morning, like at 10, I called him. I called him and I asked him, okay, did you get your dream? Did you get your dream? Do you have one more night? Okay. And he told me, oh, I had a dream, but it was about my girlfriend, and it was some Japanese pop star. And okay. Okay, so we were like, oh, you have to have you fly back to Tokyo, you know? So it's do or die. So he was clearly very anxious and upset that he spoke and he didn't get his dream. And I think the family that he stayed with could sense his anxiety, like he was like nervous. So he told me later on, because this is later I asked, the lady or the family of the mother of the family that he was staying with asked what's going on, what do you need? And somehow through his sign language and his little English, he explained that he needed to have a dream. So eventually the family said, okay, you need you have this problem. Okay, so this is what you have to do. You have to go into our shrine and make an offering. Okay, and there are three different moyangs, and each of these moyangs require a different type of offering. Because one moyang apparently likes to smoke, so you gotta get him a pack of cigarettes. Another moyang likes fruits, and another moyang and he likes coffee. So he goes there, bring the so that afternoon he was brought to the shrine, and he gives these different offerings. And then the lady said, okay, you have to tell them what you want. Tell them, oh yeah, what's your problem? And Yuichiro said, but I can only speak in Japanese. He said, no, they understand. Go ahead and speak Japanese. And he spoke Japanese to these to the Moyans, and he went back to sleep that night. And the next morning he had a dream. That night he had a dream. And he drew, this is what he drew on his sketchbook that night when he woke up, because he was ready, he's sleeping with a sketchbook next to him because he needs to draw the image. And he drew this face. He drew this face, and the next day he brought this drawing to the cover, right? To the wood cover. And the wood cover and the children immediately recognized, oh, this is Moyang Jamus. It's a rock, yeah. And they immediately recognize this man, even though Yuichiro didn't know what he do. Okay, so from this drawing, it turned into this moyang, and we call it moyang Yuichiro. So this came from the the thing I would like to highlight here is, of course, he allowed himself to be part of the process of how images are generated in Mahari's culture. Images are not something that is seen on screen. They don't see something and they draw. Images are actually generated through dreams. So that's how this work came about. Yeah. So this is the exhibition. Yeah. So again, like I said, I as a curator, I didn't know what objects I'm going to be dealing with. I didn't know whether we were going to get a dream. All of this open-endedness was part of the curation. So, but yeah, yeah. Okay, so this one. So this is the the mask that was drawn based on the pictures drawn. And yeah, so like I said, for me, I found it really interesting that it was recognized by the community, this Moyamis. So this is one way of simple collaborating that you should. So give me a heart attack, yeah. Security. So I gotta learn if I work in co-collaboration, I gotta learn to like let go of expectations. Yeah, but it's kind of difficult because when you're dealing with institution, because I was also connected to a cultural institution that demanded results. So that was very difficult for me as well because of that I'm the person in the middle where I have to balance, the cultural institution like breathing down my neck and understanding why Michio needed to do this process. And also knowing that maybe there was no dream, so this is also some of the challenges that co-creating and co-collaboration with arts poses. Okay, so this is another book, but this is not with Meri. This is with someone Indigenous with India and Kampong Debo. Kampong Debo is somewhere near Semeni. So, like I said earlier about how artists can let go of their like co-share, right? Co-share their power. Putin is one of the artists who has this ability. He's a very kind and gentle soul, and he has that ability to sort of share that power. Which is why working with Khadija, and Khadija is a very very strong female leader, and but also very determined. So I think they work quite well. So they work together on this project where also Putin insisted on living with Khadija. But Khadija, she has a family and she has two kids. I think she was not too comfortable with Putin being a man inside the household, so he lived somewhere around the campo. But he followed her during their night they would go into the forest to do to gather fruits, gather durian. Was durian not at the time, so he would follow her to do the regular activities lah. Yeah. So again, this is also part, and I was curating this project. So again, I was kind of like producing, kind of becoming the platform where I could see this friendship between the artists and the and Kak Lydia and the community come together. So I needed to, so realizing what I was in Yuichiro's project, now also playing the role of being allowed for co-collaboration, I realized that my job as a curator was more of a platform and of course somebody who can offer them a safe space for this to happen. So for that, I need to become like a protector, from all these sort of expectations, sponsors and stuff like that. I need to be able to articulate why I wouldn't know what is going to happen. So but again, and the other thing I would like to highlight is that definitely friendships will be built on this. You cannot just look at uh, people as subject matters. They are alive, we are alive, so we are in this together. So again, yeah, I think during some of the meetings, media brought the kids over, and I entertained them by asking them to draw and stuff, so that like again, I understand my role as someone who needed to allow for this kind of emergence to happen. So I needed to like protect everything else. Yeah. So and like in this case, since Kak Lydia has two kids, I also became a babysitter because I just want to make sure that Kak Lydia and Udin could have their discussions, and she needed to bring the kids because there's nobody taking care of the kids. So as a curator, I would just take on any role as long as that space would be, yeah, that space would exist. Yeah, the space where the collaboration can happen. So in the end, this is after the project. I still we visited her. I think it was durian season, so she invited me to go and gather durian hutan, which is like amazing. Durian hutan, I like. And this was the project where so Pudin painted. He did a portrait of the ladies in Taiwan, and he fashioned their hairstyle based on the mythology of the Samoan, how the world was made. Yeah, so if you look at the Sanghun, there are different symbolisms. They represent how the mythos of how the world was created in Samoan culture. So he arranged it in a certain circle, yeah, like this very circular arrangement, and there's this tree in front. So it was all the backs of heads of the ladies because he would follow them in the trekking in the jungle. So he would only see their backs. So this is him. This is kind of his portrait. Yeah, and we had a discussion, and of course, Kak Media and when we talk about indigenous community in Malaysia, we have to talk about this idea of land grabbing. Land grabbing is the issue, right? So we should talk about that. Okay. Sarah is wrong. That's it. So now I'd like to take to you, I'll bring you to the latest project that I volunteered on. Okay, so again, I'm not part of the core team. I'm penyibu, sibuk. I'm sitting diri because my brother is also one of the artists here. So I started to go to my brother anyway. Yeah, so this was Awas Mawas, which was my photos are everywhere because they're still in progress. They're like still being formulated. So this brings us to where we are today. Yeah. Talking about these two first projects that I worked with, and now on this project, now I understand these things more visibly. Um, we look at Awas Mawas. So Awas Mawas is a project that I think there were about 5 people, William Hong, Madin, Forrest, Madu Faisal, Forrest Wong, Faris Sulaiman, Ayam Farid, and Shak Koyo. And these people, like William is a sculptor, Malin and Forrest are background theater and puppeteers, puppet makers. Fairuz and Ayam Farid, they're part of this collective called Stolen Mind Wayang. And they work with Wayang, like a very contemporary version of Wayang. Children, marginalized communities, Fairuz background, he was from MNU, it's film and animation. And Ayam is from Aswar, Mexican. He's a director, writer, playwriter. His background is theater, and Shah is a video artist from the one community in Developing Pass. So this very broad range of people with different talents, okay, now coming together as a coalition, and they were to make they were to work with these communities to produce a puppet parade based on stories from children. Okay, so how so there's a few challenges here. First of all, is working with children. Okay, how do you work with kids who are kids. I mean, not doesn't matter wherever they are in the world, but children generally don't speak yet. Okay, they're not as articulate as we are. Language, and of course, confidence. I mean, they can be like really talkative, but not to you. Okay, so that was one of the big challenges about getting them engaged. And secondly is of course first working with indigenous communities where who are you, what you want to do. So all of these negotiating processes were also part of it. Yeah. So when we come into this project, our roles were not immediately defined. It's not as clear as, like, for example, if you were curating in a museum, and you have very clear, or you're the designer, you're the writer, you're the curator. Okay, that's very clear, right? But in such kind of projects, you have to be able to like transform into different things. Okay? It's not set. Okay, so I'm a curator. Oh, you're a curator, you're also a babysitter, you also come of makanan, and you also make sure when everything you are the clean up. I mean, there's a lot of roles that you have to play when you're working in the community. Okay, so it's not about just holding on. So just holding on to one title or one. Okay. So I just wanted to show you this. This is what we call the engaged artist approach. Okay, so I'm just using this term to say I'm just using this term to talk about using art as a way of co-collaborating curatorial practices. And here we are curating with children. Okay. And of course, first of all, Virus and Ayam, personality wise, they are very endearing with kids. Okay, kids, they have that vibe where children like attract to them. They're like the pipe or chicken, especially Ayam. Ayam, the kids just love them. Ayam just loves being with children and they love him back. Yeah. And that is number one important if you want to work with kids. Okay. So that vibe helps open helps the kids open up to you. Okay. And through this technique of drawing, so I'll just tell you what they did. Basically, they would have this drawing sessions, and Pyrus would say, "Okay, tell me, lukis apa yang awak tak suka? What do you like?" So under this two framing of likes and don't likes, like and dislikes, the kids would draw. All right, the kids would draw, and they did this iteration a few times because sometimes because the kids are abstract, they do like what is this, So they would do at least 2, 3 times of this exercise of drawing things that you like and things that you don't like. Okay, so and then after that, the kids would be asked to explain what are all of these things that they drew. Okay, so this kind of it's kind of like a survey sort of thing. You're taking a survey, but it's not text based. It's visual based survey, and then you work with the children to interpret what they draw. Okay, so it's based on this concept of a visual based survey because knowing that kids cannot work with languages or text. Okay, and we do and they would do few rounds of this so that the kids will become more and more confident. So that's the idea of course, building confidence and building that relationship with the facilitator. Okay? And then once they've narrowed down, and I'm really skipping through the methods here. Okay, I'm just trying to just make it just try to get back and answer back to my to the question. Yeah. So from just to show you how from the children's drawings, right? From the children's drawings, this is where the adults will intervene. So Katam was one of the characters that they wanted to be part of this theater in play. So kids would draw their versions of Katams. Okay. And then I think Marlene and Forrest would, as professional puppeteers and understanding the mechanics, right, would draw their version of they would design the tongue based on the children's drawings. Okay. So now you can see that there's the facility, there's the artists and then the children, and they're merging it together because mostly for not for narrative control. They didn't change this because they want to take over the narrative. They just want to make sure that it's feasible. It can work as a puppet. Okay, because these drawings are very imaginative. Now they got to translate this imaginative drawing into something that can actually work and can be worn. Okay, so it's not a taking over narrative kind of intention. Yeah. And then once after the puppet has been designed, the children come on board. So the physical part, like the designing, the cutting, all it was done by the adults, of course. And then the children came on with the final painting. Okay, so to make it individualized, to give it a personal touch. Each child so each kid had their own costume. They would paint their own costume, okay, as to how they want it, but just following certain theme colors. Okay, so you can see the process here. So every child would have a different pattern. Okay, and again, this idea of personalizing the puppet in ways to also, the reason for this was also to encourage them to join the performance. Okay, so all of this is done on a volunteer basis, right? So we're not paying the kids, they're not there. So how do we get them to come? And it's not something done in a day. This is at least a week stretch or 2 weeks. How do we get these kids? And children, they get distracted easily. How do we get them to come to the center every day? So they want to take part of it. So this is part of the ownership building. When they feel that they are when everybody comes in as stakeholders, they feel the importance of this thing becoming a success. Right. So this is where that co-collaboration aspect comes in. It's important that everybody feels like they have equal stake in the success, right? Because they came, just like I said, volunteers. So working with community, this is also one of the challenges. Like, how do you make sure that the community members who come on volunteer basis come to you regularly? Okay? I'm just gonna end it with a video so you can see the whole process. I was just really skipping through it because nothing going to that much time. To show you a bit about the making. Yes. So what I'll do. I was in communities, Meri and Temuan. So Temuan in Langabas is where Shakboyo's hometown is. And this is in Meri. So it is actually two communities that they work with. But for the sake of time frame, I'm just sharing one now for now. Yeah. And they had two parades. So one parade in each kampo, and then the final parade was in Berjaya Times Square. So they had like three parades, and all of this is under the Yayasan Hasanah run. So they got a Yayasan Hasanah run this. for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, so they were living there. Of course, once in a while they go back, their home, get laundry, but yeah, but they were generally living there, and which also made it easier for the kids to become friends with them. That was also part of the reason. The process where the children are being familiarized with tools, the drawing tools, because this drawing tool will be used a lot in the workshops later. So just to give them like art jamming, just to let them play with the markers, draw whatever they wanted, just to let them be comfortable with these tools that we'll be using later on. Lalu ke rumah seorang dia. Nah, the findings to the adults of the community. And so that they, because of course, the having the parents to take part and also encourage the kids to join the workshops is also important. So we needed to make sure that the parents understood, what were the kids doing. Ah, dari kita eh. Ah, betul. Kalau begini boleh aja chat ke boleh aja pun tidak. Ya, ya kacing. Lagi you minta. Betul, betul. Wah,
Sekarang so that sorry saya kira
handled with this project. So the community was working with this preparing for the parade for like I think almost 2 weeks, and this happened like the parade was to be on Sunday, right? And on Saturday, on Friday night, there were there were some community members I think from the Maher community. They got some not so good dreams. They got some not so good dreams, and I overheard like at the time when I went there because I volunteered. I just came. I didn't stay. I would come back and forth. I heard like there was some like uncertainty discussion, and I asked what was going on, and he said, "Oh, somebody had a dream, and they dreamt that on the day of the parade there was a fire. There was a fire, and then yeah, there was a fire, and something omnibus happened, you know, and they took that dream as a bad sign, you know, so." They will come to the artist. I think I'm not sure who they will say. Did you have the dream? Did you dream? Did you dream? Did you dream? Like they ask all the artists if anybody had a dream. Like we got this, but did you guys get anything? You know. And that night, Forrest, he had a dream. He had also a kind of bad dream again about fire. But then he said there was a fire, and and there was rain. Something like the Moyang was laughing at them, you know. So when they had all these happenings, I think the Pak Sambi, he's the woodcarver and also the one involved in the project. He said, "Okay, I think you guys need to, everybody in the puppet parade needs to go through a ritual cleansing. Everyone needs to go through, everyone, all the crabs, everything, even the puppets themselves." Yeah, so that morning I came and I was like, "Where's everybody? Why is it all the, they were all empty?" And apparently they were at the shrine and they were going through this kind of blessing ritual. So said they would have so when they came back, everybody already came and blessed for the day. Yeah, so this was something very very interesting encounter. It was yeah, for us it's just having a show and performing, but this is something that is it's very meaningful to the community, and they needed that kind of I would say ritual to go through that ritual to kind of I don't know legitimize it. I'm not sure. So these are the questions that I'm also asking. But you can see this is where suddenly there's this picture of this video of going to the temple. That's okay. wrap it up. Okay, so sorry. This one okay, sorry. This is something I just ripped off of ChatGPT. Um, yeah. Because like I said, this is like earlier I said we do the project because the opportunity comes, and then it's kind of like backpedaling and understanding what happened. Yeah. So this is why I put it in ChatGPT to understand. Okay, so what am I dealing with? Yeah. Yeah. So looking at co-authorship. Sorry, that's a funny. Took cultural protocols, respecting tradition. So again, like that was something I encountered that was encountered during that ritual. Yeah, that idea of respecting protocols, and I guess when you are already when you are part of that community in a way, working that close, you will start to see these layers, these kind of protocols that I never knew was there. And of course, long-term relationships. So again, working with communities not as not going there with the intention of as a subject matter. I mean, I don't know. It's also very hard for me to say, but of course, this idea of friendship, yeah, and being able to make space for friendship. I think this is also one of the takeaways that I can, yeah, get back takeaways from this collaboration, the whole collaboration, curating the thing. Okay, so that's all. Thank you very much, and it's Azan. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right, I think we'll jump to the next speaker. Then we'll do a Q&A right before we end. All right. So Jacob and then Danielle.
This is a show.
Yeah.
Everyone have lunch or meals. I guess it's two time. I'm into you on the lunch. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Um, so my name is Jacob Van Klang. I'm an Jakob and I'm joined here with my colleague Danielle Lin. So we both look for art graduates and we are both uh, editorial and community support. We do that. And thank you so much, James and Suzy, for inviting us here. It's exciting for us to be here. It's been 2 months since we launched our platform in Malaysia and Singapore, and the last time it was also some paragliding country. Um, So start off presenting. So what Rabit is a community and media platform for promoting and discovering events and opportunities in the arts and visual culture. And so I'll tell you what our mission is. Basically, our mission is to make art as accessible as possible. For those who love art, our goal is to simplify the discovery of art. Finding art should be effortless. For those who are new to art, we are here to make the first step into an art space less intimidating and more inviting. And for those working in the arts and culture, I think most of us here are, like ourselves. We provide free and affordable tools to share, market, and educate about art programs. So I'll talk about how art students can list their own exhibitions and projects on our platform and university run galleries. HCM has one here, so later I'll show you what I've done on this. And you'll be able to get better connected and critically engage next generation of artists. So here's what we do. We have the website itself. Um, that we promote the events, exhibitions, and opportunities. And we also have a newsletter service for UK, London, Berlin, New York, and Los Angeles, informing the public about upcoming events and openings for the entire week, which I do every Wednesday. And we also have the app. Makes it easy for everyone to just look what's nearby you and you can just check out. So do download the app. You want to know like what's happening in KL, not sure for Sanjay. Um, so the next one, we also share about arts and culture stuff on social media, something more casual. And yeah, so our website has like almost 200,000 visitors per month. And these are all the other stats and newsletters. We have like 25,000 subscribers. Yeah. So who are we? We have a small team of people all around the world. So I'm based here, of course, in KL, Asia. So what I do is we've launched for Singapore and Asia recently. So that's why I'm handling. But I also list shows that are happening in Germany, UK, and US. And the team is also based in London and Berlin and also New York and LA. So we are from diverse backgrounds. I myself, I'm an artist and curator, Danielle as well. So yeah, this is the main part to show off to everyone. It's free, that's why it's simply free. So that's why you should get on board on this platform. So let me show you live of like what's on the website. So this is what a listing for a new page looks like. And we can follow the venue. You can see the exhibition happening. And you can also see what medium it is. So this is fashion and design. This is also fashion design, and we can follow by medium. And you can see other exhibitions that are also fashion design. And You can follow the museum. You can follow the exhibition itself. And yeah, when you think about it, you can know like where it is and the openings and like how equivalent is like where's the MRT and LRT that's the closest. So I can show you the socials for as it helps them. I've also created a programming and these are the shows that were happening recently and this is the most recent one. So if you guys have any shows, student shows or any shows happening, please do this and you can also gain the page and you will be to have a green badge. This one. Yeah. So this is green. So next time see zero that. Okay. Yeah, so all that is free. You can do that free. That's so as the paid features, but free plan it suffices to do a lot of things already. So these things is ideal to these events and exhibitions happen 3 months a day so that people can like to show you. So you can follow. Once you follow, we send out notifications of like when's the opening of the show that's will happen in Pakistan or something like that. So it's good to release informs. So these things. So these things, events, it's not only exhibitions, it can be a talk like this, can be a workshop, can be a art class, um, whatever it is that is under design for visual culture, that's what we can do. And yeah, this is our newsletter, visual. So this is for the kid. So we highlight some fields are happening, also open calls, so this plan to guys. So for the entire week, it's all there that you can see in one go in the newsletter. You can see all the openings. It's like maybe like 14, 15 openings in YouTube. Yeah. So that's what I do. I do in the rest. And next, yeah, this is not really relevant from this part, right? And you can create a page, a new page. That's it. Okay, so I've mentioned that that's also targeted marketing. That's why you should research show in advance. So days before the opening, we send out like an email to those who follow the venue stage. So yeah, you will do it on behalf of you, the artist as well. So we also do festivals and like big events. Say that the most recent one that I've done is that say the Venice dinner. So this one you can see for the entire dinner, you can see on the map what's happening. And there's more than 16 drivers. You also which and all of the events happening throughout the department. So so we also just launched the artist plan. So it's a thing by something like a link tree where you can promote whatever stuff that's you're doing. So basically, like a link tree, like what's special is you will also have the exhibition link to it that is part of our Rabit platform. And the great thing about it is like Rabit is like a connector between like people who are looking for artists. Say UOB wants to commission someone to do a sculpture in their office building. So um, we have like international connections all around the world, all the open calls, the stuff. So we're doing such things with artists that are relevant for the art organizers they're looking for. So an example of that artist you can yeah, sure one. So this is one. Um, so we can see that into my interview and stuff. So this is an aspect of exhibition technically will look like that.
That's a way.
Yeah, that is my work. Yeah, this was it before in
And yeah,
yeah, this is just an example of like what is going to look like. So instead of like tree, and this is think in bio for art Rabit. So your exhibition will be there to yeah, the listing of that. See what is it about? And this is just an example of it. And also you can also um, sell artwork as well. And we don't take commission, stuff like that. Description, materials, dimension, and also, yeah, you can see all the exhibition this artist has been part of.
Yeah. Media arts, right? Yeah, media arts. Anything else? Media arts, yeah, well, the technology and art.
New media.
Yeah, I mean, movie stuff.
So, so I mean, your institution that so these are the people we work with, and yeah, like, yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, so we got the technical part covered up, and I'm just going to give you guys a summary of what art gallery is. Okay, you guys are media students, right? So I'm sure that you guys like to look for inspiration, you guys like to go looking for art galleries, and when you guys right? But the issue that we encounter is usually that Instagram is like susah nak cari, right? Like all these events and macam like pergi mana it's like every weekend pergi cafe je, pergi getting examples, it's like you don't know what's happening. And unless you go to the art event page, you don't know what's even happening, right? So the thing about art, imagine Xiaofeng Shu. That's what Xiaofeng Shu like. Yeah, you know, right? So imagine Xiaofeng Shu, but for art. So that is art gallery. So you can see in KL, I should speak to that. But in KL, there are a lot of things happening and there are a lot of venues. So you can see on the map, he's around right now. And the good thing about art, it even shows you like the names, it shows you exactly how you can get. And if you guys have the app, it's like some skip out the first like on the landing page of the app, like the landing page, it shows you the events in Kuala Lumpur. So it shows you the one that's closest to you. And if you go to the tangent, like the Pasir Jaya doctor, or like you're in Nampak, and I want to check out the exhibition, what's near me. And you can open the app, you can open the website, and you can just see what's happening. Yeah, so I think it's wonderful. The different events, I enjoy it, three events, genre events. So you can see everything that's happening. And it's, I mean, right now, Jacob is doing all the listing. But so here he has to, yes, he has to go to the Instagram page of all the art galleries and exhibitions, and this are just put that. So that is what he's doing, and he's drowning, and there's such a thing about art. But Shaka is free. So actually, as you if you buy account atas Gallery, you can also release, you can increase his workload. So like for example, you hosting a workshop event or when you have for like a dance or performance and you want more people to know about it. So macam siapa suka and it's free. So you can pergi and then you bilang that's me. That's
And also the shoes that you
that you can get them by the honestly. Okay, so basically you can go to the landing page and you can yeah, so you can go there and be like, hey, my friends and I are organizing this thing, and you can go to add event and click that video. Just show them out. Event names and download. and then it starts in this date and this date. And then you can list like that. This is free, completely free. So you can put your event on the website and to mistake and meaning is this absolute show. Yeah. And I love the media, film, video, yes, and media, like media is really nice. And you can do short introductions to event, event price, it's free, everything that you say into. Yes. And then and then event maintenance in class and artist name. So artist name is not also free stuff. You can put in your name, put in because in this you will actually give your website. Or they will give your website, you can dedicate points. So for example, single and
So
now we
once you get that,
okay, so my name shows that he can actually relate this exhibition to me. And kalau tak ada Danielle Lin, it automatically creates a profile on can also put the things to research. Add a new person. So after this, you can go back and can say that page. Let's read. Oh, I see clearly.
it's okay, I can manage.
Yeah, you're gonna have yeah.
Yeah,
I find somebody who just like, you know how they buy like domains, you know? Okay, okay.
yeah, I get me right, so
Yeah, that.
yeah.
And so you can between. And the more you use it, the more useful it is actually. So that you can find all the underground niche artists, arts, and you can even follow like all of the artist profiles, you follow all of these things. You will feel it and yeah, so this is an example of what you do, but next time you get videos that get and see yeah, so that's why imagine in all the consideration and use this, we actually have a really good database of what's happening around the world. And it's self-running, it's automated, and it's completely free, guys. I know presentations can love free things, and it's really good. It's also if you go to Singapore, boleh pakai dari Singapore tau. Boleh pakai dari Singapore. And for such a small country, it's always like not saying 68 just not got other people who inside too. So we have to compete, okay? You cannot let such a small country overtake us like supposed to more hard exhibitions, so we're not pandemic. Yes. So yeah, I'm free. Luckily, just now his plan that he showed me just now to guys. If you have any need for the free future can go back. So this one it is but thinking about for example, yeah, for instance, in pounds because it's based in I don't know yet the university. But basically, our Rabit can submit to overseas clients. So let's say you're looking for people who are maybe in media or you want to promote your art. You can create an artist profile, put your stuff there, it acts like a website, and our Rabit, when you get an order, let's say the client's looking for a media artist specializing in blah blah blah, or technical makeup. It can actually help link you to that client overseas. So process the portfolio process on the platform all in one. And you can also yeah, you can do this exams really the same. So really yeah, it's like your person plus LinkedIn for admin. Yeah. And you say that interest us.
So for that opportunities, you should look out for all the open calls like this one, and you get to go to Korea for 2 weeks for a workshop. It's for new career, establish this.
So this is also free. So they put down the website, they put all of open source information.
So you should just apply.
You can just apply that. So it's like your newspaper. It's really art newspaper. Yeah.
And this is like 90,000 pounds for a commission work. So
Right. Your newspaper all in one website. And it's free. Guys, it's free. That's why we have to free to you guys because you're close to the and yeah, the more you guys use it, the more people know about it, the more it's all it is. And you know, the example Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Set up on the outdoors.
Yeah.
Access all of the actually, you know, it's really kind of trying to move around. Like, certainly, for all of that, it's really that
Basically, you have you can save and bookmark and if you save it and you can see that there's actually like a stats of like what it would look like.
so once you guys check out the exhibition, or if you want to know more exhibition, right? You click on that I've seen this, and the algorithms will automatically boost it to people. So they're like, hey, this exhibition is like maybe more for selling us, so they can take like enough videos that's like people last. Then you guys can make it more popular students and have seen this, seen this.
So all the things that you just you can save and show like yes. So all the shows that you're interested in.
And contributor is like how many events that you visit. So as I mentioned, Jacob, every week he's been visiting for UK, for America, Singapore, and for Germany. And he has listed, can see, he has listed 3,200 events. Please, thanks. And sometimes when he's not available, I also do the listening. Let me tell you guys, 1 week Asian context, 60 overlap. Opening such a 60 exhibitions and 3 weeks. So that 3,000 is really not exhibitions, only make like 5 6 months. Like 8 months, 3,000 exhibitions and 3 weeks. Most of these are paid weekly. So you really have to work hard, guys. Yeah. So every week, that's what you've been doing. That's like really, it's just okay. So yeah, help us out. And help yourself out. So everybody can get bagaimana nak pergi gallery hopping and you can say your plans again. Gallery is super easy, super free, and definitely check it out. Okay, thank you. The better you can just find like this. Or you can go to the Starring Gallery website. And it's very user friendly. So that's when you need to get to read for.
You have to talk something.
Yeah, so you can report.
It's good for art students to discover and explore art events happening throughout Asia. So this is a way to keep on stuff happening.
So I'm just
Okay. Which I mean that so Rabit is like you guys want to like make exhibitions and then we make our name for ourselves as artists that copying the galleries to galleries, right? So it's like here is like right now it's this LinkedIn where one thing that macam let's say that I am a graduate, right? I'm not a student, I'm an alumni. I'm looking for like work or like something like within this type of environment. So macam let's say that macam if I look at Instagram, looking at just Malaysia where media art will really you see the filaments, studio behind these, the diversifies, the videos and everything, the racks. Once in 6 months, they just drop one post and they say, I'm looking for an artist. I'm looking for a new friend. Can this website can just show every single thing that we have uh, we have a vacancy here. You can apply and have a job here.
Definitely, like I also post jobs here as well. Usually is
actually top
and you can see how much you get per year. This is in UK, but for Malaysia you can also. So at the end here there is submit open call. Yeah, if there's an opening at MMU, yeah, do submit to me and I'll post it here. So if you want to go look for residency all over the world, Japan, you can always apply. So lots of things, residency, commission, competition, jobs, exhibition. Most of it is free and without fees.
So it's like all this job between relation and that depends whether you can find it or if they submit it. So like if you know that there's a open form, it's not that you can use like what you can tell the people to use it. And they don't do that. So it's very crowdsourced. So it's like it's dependent on how well he can find it, which is quite good. But also like it depends on the institutions from also is what to use it. So that's what I mean by it's more useful if one of you use it.
And also trying to Asianize it because it's very Western. So like this one, I think it's from Finland as well. There's this exhibition happening in Jakarta. Yeah, I can say here as well. Yeah. So if you're within this age range, you apply for this open call.
That that's it.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
This subject is a bit like less and looking for any young person opportunities if you're doing and try to start this young person opportunities for that. You buy it other day. So we're now talking. It's like 1 year and you can't like now doing lockdown. You have to make sure to make it important for technology is the only that it in something future. And I would say I can't get it, but feels like much. So yeah, we are the only two that is in Southeast Asia. If get people to help with jumping, so then we can it is very right now the design and pretty much like very westernized. It did start years ago, so trying to bring it to Southeast Asia now. So with it, yeah, I see like Indonesia.
Indonesia, there's actually nothing much because we have no presence there.
And what we can read and you can use for the engines.
Or if you have a show that you can also list.
No, exactly, it's like I see it now. So like what we did is when we went to Singapore, we listed the exhibitions we wanted. Then we say it, then we use it ourselves. First I don't go with the
So there's no web page you can create it yourself.
yeah, you just create a general account for them. And then there'll be a question that are you processing this value? You just say no. So that means they can oh I see, yes. I see, yes. It's like really brilliant. It's very
Yeah.
much
It's crowdsourcing, so anyone can do it, even if you're artist curator or not, you can also do that. Yeah.
it is your business and we go and then we know
So is it just for exhibitions that are about to happen, or can it be like exhibition
Yeah.
10 years ago?
can it
So it can be, it looks
Can
like,
any words that can apply?
can we can
so
So I
let's
can build
go,
my street.
in the VMA, VMA. Great decision,
it's together these things in like the way really big things. So you
Connect it as an archive as well.
Yeah, you can see all the past events happening.
it's like a meeting of space. It's possible.
Is it according to dates?
It's a
It's
problem.
chronological.
And so there's a tab. So it's one card and it can be hard. Yes, it can. It's not hard and not convenience. So part of our inside we don't know and pass inside next piece maybe. That's like a means. So it's focus on that kind.
So that is, I think someone asked me a research question initially. I think they asked me if I really can work as a use for research. If you want to research for creative economy, it's a good way to research about what's happening in KL, Indonesia, in London. Say like in LA, there were like fires in the beginning of the year, and like for the entire week, openings were very few. So I can see. So my hand is on the pulse of like art scene all over the world. I can see if there's political issues or like funding cuts, like something is going to happen and affects the art industry. Um, oh yeah, you can also see there's very few Palestinians.
Even exhibitions are being
Yeah, and it
reflects in the
yeah, and you can see it's probably not so political and even things that are not political, like this attack of Palestine, issues, things that are happening, sleeping, yeah, I see, 2024, 2025.
that's sad.
If you want to change this,
Censorship, yes, yes, any kind of censorship is.
so everything that is goes out there, of course, we will wet it, and if it's nothing to do with art, if it's something someone wants to promote crypto, I will take it down and delete and ban them. But there's no censorship. If you want to list an exhibition, but Palestine should go ahead.
Okay.
Use data erase after some time or would
No, you can see like things that goes on even from 2015, it's still there. Yeah. It's, go to London and you can see like the difference of like KL and UK. You can see there's like 300 over events happening, and like you can see looking at the map, it's how vibrant.
because of that is only 10 years old.
see
You can still see exhibitions 120.
And you can also list stuff as archival purpose before 2015 as well. So you can see it's be great for Malaysia, KL, or Southeast Asia to be as vibrant as they are, and they're also like starting free speech right now, protests like Palestine, all this stuff. So I think they're also trying to think of their country. Um, So, so this is what I would call like digital placemaking as well. You can know like what's happening around you. You can take a tube closest train station. So yeah, it's a great thing about this platform. The apps, yeah, the open mini times are there, and you can see that which museum closes at the latest, and like maybe sometimes there's like late night openings as well. I think Omo is the latest in KL that you can go there till like 7 p.m.
Yeah, I can see the guys. I can tell you their opening hours. So they only open on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, but only like 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and also 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. sometimes. So it's very like yeah. These are just like interesting because we have been on the back end, we've been seeing how these venues run their spaces and exhibitions, how they are, even how they name their exhibitions, very interesting. So it's like nice to see like the culture of the art people there versus here. But one thing is definitely universal, everyone knows this thing. Everyone knows so much. Yeah, it's like, oh, it was on Saturdays and sometimes Wednesdays, sometimes Tuesdays, like these kind of thing. But yeah, Monday is pretty much a no action. I said to him, yeah, anyone can share. Yeah, there's the you mentioned that anyone can sell any art form. Is there any publications or anything? Okay, so selling art and the artist connect page where you can create your own photos and everything, right? And you can use all your own artwork. That one is paid. So there are two tabs. The one that we brought up actually creates an open house and jobs. That is free. You can use that. But if you want to create your own and there's one where you can list your own artwork and if you come to buy your artwork to the website, that one is paid. Yeah.
This is
Yeah, so this is not compulsory. You can still get a lot of use out of fundamental if you apply for jobs. It's not like it. But you want to like use their platform where it's like very artists and they blend you with potential science, personality, and content. Yes, so good.
and talking with this one. So this is a paid feature, so you can just anything good description or is it the materials and dimensions and it's have to be something so yeah so the original one is it and which currency or is three currency
Working on that.
no and yet what so yeah this is a certificate and stuff like that. So, yes, you don't say commission, so what's it do? So the link, it could be linked to your website or linked to your gallery if you are represented by a gallery. So let me go, for
So it's
example,
not a shopping cart or something.
yeah, if it's not a shopping cart, you don't have the payment process yet. One, right? So, so this is, it goes to the artist website. Once I click this, inquire, so you can inquire, basically, I can email, this person. So that's the artist, yeah.
And so, and but don't worry, even this you can still use like the definition to find and you can apply for jobs. Okay.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, it's safety, exhibitions. Yeah, this is how you sign up for the newsletter, so that's exciting.
Yes. Steps. Please subscribe. So right now we don't have newsletter. The newsletter. Do you know what newsletter is? Yes. Okay. Now I can group. So like you can sign up for that. You can sign up, and right now we don't have newsletter for Malaysia or Singapore because we send it every week. So in order to send it, we need events happening every week, right? And we showing it as openings, we show the new exhibitions. So that's why it's like, you know, the picture part we need some part from here to be passed out now, not yet. So that's the future generation of new artists and new creators keep doing stuff. And yeah, and it's because it's a one guided show. So she's very little bit non-parents. These are my stuff. Thank you.
With the entire guide of like and how we do the all the this with that.
According to me, the damage to every can be
So for cases, of course, it's like advertising like editorial pieces.
it's not like without your G anyone can do public event, then you do that.
So it's a show. I think my boss, yeah, there is happened and the other and that's event or
So every editorial recommendation.
okay.
Any last questions? And
Any more questions? Anyone has questions for Miss Suzy? Right. So I think we can end the session today. Thank you so much, Dr. Suzy, actually, Jacob and Daniel. Yeah, and thank you everyone for attending today. All right. So we can end. Yeah. Thank you.
Talk and then this and when this.
Yeah, it's great talk. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay.
so far.
Where are you looking from? Oh,
Yeah.
it's like species. Different.
Okay, all right. Okay, excellent. Let's, let's be the, we'll have moments in the, there's a lot of, sometimes chasing the, students. He's not that much after the same, and many same diseases. Super strong.
One thing, one thing.